Yeah, so my mom is also a Lakers fan and everything, so whoop. But I regret to inform you that I am a proud Boston fan. For this, you know, I'm telling you, bro.
Say it ain't so. Welcome, listeners, to another episode of the Banquet Hall podcast, where we believe everyone deserves a seat at the table. As always, my name is Kyler Nathan. I'm the host of the pod. If this is your first time tuning in, make sure you follow the podcast at Banquet Hall Pod. Like, subscribe, hit the 5-star rating, all those different influencer things that I have to say every single time I start the podcast. But hopefully, y'all go ahead and do it. But today, I am joined by a very great person, a young scholar. Julian, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well. Thanks for asking. Excited to have this conversation. Been looking forward to it all day. Julian is an avid listener of the Banquet Hall, so he's been tuning into some episodes. So it's good to see you on this side of the interview.
Yeah, I'm really excited at everything too. Just kind of like going through all the episodes, the vibe and everything has just been like immaculate, and it's nice that I'm like actually here. Just getting being a part of it. It's cool.
I love the energy that we're already starting with.
Yeah.
As kind of like an icebreaker conversation, I'm curious for our listeners, what is one of your favorite episodes that you've listened to so far? One of your favorite stories you've heard on the podcast?
Oh, okay. So I got two, right?
Okay.
So one of the ones that I watched most recent, or they're both of them like I watched most recently and everything. One was with Andre 1K, which was great. Like that one was amazing. Just seeing how like you guys vibe together and everything too. Y'all were going back and forth with stories and stuff. And playing 2K, like completely relatable. I'm telling you, like just kind of like just going over to like somebody's dorm who has like a TV, the PlayStation or Xbox or whatever, just like gaming it out. That was really cool. Like a really positive vibe. And then the other one, which was the one that I watched most recently, I don't want to butcher, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't want to butcher the name and everything. I believe it was Cooking with Pow Pow.
Yeah, Paolo.
Yeah, oh, there it is. Yeah. So that episode was great because I'm a food person. I'm heavy on food, right? So I even followed them and everything on Instagram. I was like, yo, they make like that's good, like really good. And I believe they're based in LA, right?
Yeah, Santa Clarita area.
Yeah. I was like that was I don't know. That was like a bummer to me and everything. Because I live in San Diego, so I'm like, I can't like, dude. So I'm about to figure it out and everything too, just to kind of like see if I could try something or whatever. But yeah, top two for sure. Top two
Uh,
favorite podcasts.
that's definitely great to hear. And shameless plug for Cooking Pow Pow. He does deliver the cookies he makes. So if you want to at least try the ube cookies, he'll ship those to you and they'll be fresh enough to eat. So
I will
definitely
look at
check that out.
yeah.
Listeners, if y'all haven't tapped in with those episodes, definitely tap in and support Cooking Pow Pow because to date, still the best ube cookies I've ever had in my life. Like people
Mm.
think sometimes I'm saying stuff just for the pod, but like, no, those
Yeah.
cookies are delicious.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah, but let's go ahead and get started with your episode. Hopefully, a few months from now, somebody's going to be talking about this is their favorite episode of the podcast. So, looking forward to
Hopefully.
bringing that content to them. You already mentioned you're from San Diego, and that's usually where I get the conversation started. So, what part of San Diego are you from, and how has that shaped who you've become as a person thus far in your young life?
So I'm from Southeast San Diego, specifically like the Chicano Park kind of area and everything. Very rich on like culture and stuff like that. Um, and I feel like speaking onto that and everything, like I also went to school out in like Skyline and everything, so like kind of by like Imperial Ave and all that too. So just kind of being around an environment where it was like I don't know, more of like a sense of community, like in a way, like people, like your friends and everything, and the people that you grow up with, like looking out for you and becoming friends for life and everything. I feel like that was like that's really helped shape who I am. I feel like I'm a
Mm,
very tight-knit person when it comes to like my inner circle and everything. Um, and yeah, it shaped me in like a good way, and I would also say kind of like bad ways too, in a sense of um, like I guess habits and everything that I would say that I'd probably need to drop and stuff,
mm,
kind of relating to like over perfection and everything and trying to
mm,
have everything be perfect. Because the community that I did grow up in and everything, we didn't really have like a crazy amount. So like it's basically low income and people like around me, while there were some like good people and stuff, there were also some people who didn't really encourage me to do what I'm doing now and everything.
Mm,
Like I spoke like recently and everything too, and like a talk that I gave where my grandfather actually told me to choose like a different profession at
mm,
one point, which was kind of also the vibe with the communities that I grew up in a way, up until I got into like maybe like late middle school to high school. Um, so just kind of like, yeah, it was a bit of a balance where like it wasn't perfect, but I still really appreciate the community and still have like a ton of really, really good memories there.
I could definitely resonate with that as a perfectionist myself, and I feel like that's a product of my environment. And looking forward to getting into that more. But tell us more about this talk that you were just mentioning and kind of that conversation with your granddad and your profession. What was the context for that?
Yeah, so the talk and everything, I was honored and everything by UCSD to be able to give a TED talk,
Mm.
which was great. My mom has been always talking about it. She was like, give a TED talk, give a TED talk. I was like, okay, I'll apply. They have one. I don't know if I'm gonna get in and everything. I was going through all the interviews and they were like, we really liked your stuff. I got the email jumping around and called my mom. It was whole thing. But just like basically the talk was or like the salon itself was about like reality check. That was the theme, right?
Mm.
And my specific talk was called the broken probability mindset. And
Okay.
basically what it says is, and it was kind of coined by me, is that if the percentage of success is greater than zero, then it's 100% possible,
Mm.
right? So basically how that ties into like what my grandfather said, he told me I believe I was very young. I was um kind of like flip-flop the age and everything, like around like 5 or 6 years old and everything.
Mm.
I was telling him, I was like, hey, I want to be a scientist. You know what I mean? Like, I want to study space. This is awesome, right? And he just kind of like took it in and was like choose a different profession, like word for word. That's what he told me. And I'm 5 years old, 5 or 6. I don't know why. And I'm pretty sure, like, I went to my mom, right? I went to my mom later that day and everything, and told her, I'm pretty sure, like 99% sure, she ended up chewing him out for that. Everything. Because why would you? It
Yeah.
was the whole thing. But my mom, once I came home and told her, she was like, like get that out of your head, all right? Don't like chase what you want to chase and everything like that. Go after what you want to go after. And like I feel like the more we talk about it and everything, my background, you're gonna hear a lot of my mom and everything. Like just huge shout out to her and stuff. Because she really let me kind of like go all over the place and everything with what I wanted to try. Like at one point I wanted to go to the NBA and everything. And kind of realized in high school that some of these people are a little bit more gifted, a little bit more skilled. Um But like at one point, because my stepdad's in the Marines and everything too.
Mm.
So at one point I wanted to like go into the Marines and become an engineer. And then my stepdad was like, you have to go through boot camp. And I was like, no, I don't. I'm not doing that. So yeah, it kind of led me to where I'm at, or led me back really to where I'm at now, because I've always loved space and everything like that. I used to stay up late at night. Are you familiar with like the show Nova by like Neil deGrasse Tyson?
I've heard of it, but especially for our listeners who might not have, tell us a little bit about it.
So basically, it's hosted by like an astrophysicist named Neil deGrasse Tyson, who and it came on PBS. It came on
Hmm.
PBS like kind of late at night and everything too. I believe it was around like 9 or 10, and he'd basically just like talk about space phenomena and everything like that, and just kind of like tell us about things like a more documentary kind of style and everything. And I remember just being hooked. Like I used to just turn to my mom and was like, "What is that? I want to know what that is. Let me figure stuff out, right?" And she kind of turned to me eventually and was like, "Why don't you find that out?" And I was like,
Mm.
and she was like why don't you become like she introduced the word astrophysicist to me at the time, which I did not remember. That was a huge word for me at the time. And she was like, and I was like Neil, right? Like my because he was my inspiration. I watched him like pretty much like nightly, right? And she was like, nah, like you. And that right
Mm.
there was like just set it off completely. Like I've been loving space ever since. And I believe I was also around the same age too when I told my grandfather about like wanting to become a scientist, right? So yeah. that's pretty much like I don't know. I don't even. I feel like I got off topic a little bit, but
Oh
yeah.
no, we right on course. We're right on course for sure. And shout out to moms because that's phenomenal parenting. I'm so happy that you had and continue to have that influence because there's so many dreams that die just because people tell
Mhm.
somebody that they can't do it or plant those seeds of doubt. And I think especially at so young of an age, the most influential people in your life, if they tell you like, oh, maybe not, then that could
Yep.
just mean you never pursue that pathway. So
Mhm.
I'm happy that you had that seed planted early and you got to have somebody encourage you to continue going on because especially as black men in the society, if we don't believe in our potential, like what are we to do?
Exactly. Exactly. I like 100% agree with that and everything. I've had like friends and everything and like people that I've met in the past who had like kind of went through like similar stories and everything and their parents didn't have or it didn't like I guess support them the same way that my mom did, which is why like again I'm forever grateful for her, right? Because as a kid, if I just kind of like threw away my love for space completely, now I did kind of like put it on the back burner and everything for some
Mhm.
time and everything, just kind of like exploring and again like the NBA thing and stuff like that. Just kind of like because my environment was like no, we're going to the NBA, we're going to the league, you know what I mean? Like it's the whole thing. But just kind of like her keeping that alive and just kind of like making sure to protect that flame and everything was really, really important for my development and to like getting me to where I'm at now.
Absolutely love that and looking forward to continuing to talk about that inspiration later in the episode. For my own kind of intellectual curiosity, let's go down this hypothetical pathway that you had made it to the NBA. What team do you hope you would have played for?
Okay, so about that. So you know how like I watched the podcast, right? I'm assuming because I think that you dissed these fans before. Are you a
Probably.
Lakers fan?
I'm a Lakers fan, yes.
Yeah, so my mom is also a Lakers fan and everything. So whoop. But I regret to inform you that I am a proud Boston fan.
Uh,
For this, you know, I'm telling you, bro.
say it ain't so.
I
Say
was
it
like,
ain't so.
I swear, I was waiting for that question. I was like, I can't wait to tell him.
Ah, and y'all just won the championship. I don't even want to do the
Hmm.
podcast no more.
Yeah, tell you. And my
Whew.
favorite player is Jason Tatum. So I mean, it's a whole, you know. Yeah,
I
it's
was
kind
in
of interesting
I
too,
was in
because
such
like.
good spirits before this episode.
It's interesting too because my mom, like I said, my mom's a Lakers fan. So like in the household, it's a little bit of a clash and stuff. It's been a whole thing. I've been a Boston fan since I was like maybe like 6, 7, since I was like young. So yeah.
Man, wow. I as soon as you paused when I asked, like he about to say that it was either the
Yeah.
Celtics or the Clippers. He was about to say one of those two.
Yeah.
Um, Moms, if you listening to this, I think that I'm so happy you encouraged Julian to pursue physics. I'm gonna need you to plant some seeds to get him on the purple and gold side because that's unacceptable.
Staying on the green. Staying on the green, I'm telling
All right, I'm gonna edit that part out the podcast. No, I'm just playing.
you.
Oh wow, yeah. I can't even say anything good about the Celtics. I'm gonna just move on to my next question. But I like as part of this podcast, I like letting listeners into my experiences with the listeners. So I wanted to ask you if you remembered when we first crossed paths.
Um, okay, I don't want to butcher the name of the event, but I know for sure it was at an event and everything. I was like, I was talking to Chris and stuff, or I was with Chris and Jonathan actually, and we were like talking and stuff. And then Chris introduced me to you and was like, "Hey, you're on his own podcast and everything." And then I think Jonathan kind of chimed in and was like, "He's also doing his own TED Talk and everything and stuff." Mind you, by the way, when he mentioned that, I hadn't even like for sure gone through the interview process.
Mm,
So I was like, okay, now I really gotta get it. Like I got, but yeah, just kind of like that's kind of like how I first interacted with you. We talked a little bit and stuff like that before the event started, and yeah, it was all like positive vibes and everything.
absolutely, that's exactly when my memory too. And I also failed to remember the name of the event. But like we said, it was some type of like cultural celebration though, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Um, but listeners might have listened to Christian's episode of the podcast. We talked a lot about the First Gen Scholars Program, and Julian has been a part of that program. So now that we have someone who has been on the student end of that program, I'm curious from your perspective, like what was your experience like with First Gen Scholars? Why was that experience important for you?
My experience with first gen scholars was like great. It really started like, well, I really found out about the program off of Instagram, and funnily enough, right, they had extended the deadline. So I didn't know about this program to begin with, and they extended the deadline, right? And I was like, I think I found out on the day that the extended deadline was due. So like it was a whole like rush and everything to get out a solid application and da 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 to like sign up for the summer program and this, that, and the third. And basically like I signed up like frantically and stuff like that and found out I don't remember the time span. I think it was around like a week after and everything, roughly. They were like, "Hey, you got in and stuff like that." Da 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 da. Cool. And at this time, I hadn't met Jonathan, who's an amazing person. I cannot also be more thankful to have him like in my life, along with Chris as well. And at the time, I actually thought that he was mean and everything. For some reason, I don't know. I thought he was just like a person who was just like, like I'm just hands off, you know? And I remember like the first day and everything, they were like broken up into cohorts, and I joined the mental health and wellness cohort and everything too to like really kind of get my mind right for senior year and stuff like that. And he had walked in to kind of like say what's up to everybody on like the first day, I believe. Yeah, it was like when I met him and everything, and he was the happiest person that I have ever seen. The amount of positivity radiating from this man was insane. I'm telling you, he came in, he was like, and I was like, like it was just cool, you know. So just kind of him encouraging us and everything throughout the college application process. They also had previous alumni at the time come in,
Mm,
also encourage us, help us with our college application and everything. We had therapists specifically for our cohort because each cohort was like had like a specialty. So ours was mental health and wellness at the time. There was also I believe I'm butchering the name, but it was relating to more like engineering and like business and stuff like that. And then they also had different ones. And they would bring in like specialists within that field. So for example, the engineering one, they brought in a rocket scientist, right? Who owned her own company and everything too, which was great. Like it was awesome hearing her talk and everything. And then there was also for the mental health and wellness, we had therapists come in, I believe, every Tuesdays and Thursdays, which was really
mm,
great. They helped out like tremendously and everything when it came to giving advice, coming up with like ways to really tackle like the college application process and stuff and college within itself. And this was the summer going into my senior year, right? So
okay.
kind of like having this knowledge early and everything, I feel like I'm still carrying what they taught us, like even till this day. Which, like,
Mm.
again, like I'm gonna say grateful a lot because I am very grateful for everything that's happened and the people around me in my life and stuff. So I'm very grateful for that as well. Just kind of like being on the student end of it too. I could also talk about like the mentorship part too, because I also came back the next summer if you want to hear about it.
Yeah, let's get into that in a second. But first, I want to say, just because obviously for a lot of the listeners, they know a lot of my background, my professional background is in college access, college
Mm,
outreach. And I think a lot of times when I'm talking to people who aren't as familiar with the college environment, they wonder, like, oh, what is this? Why is it important? So I really
mhm,
appreciate just the level of excitement and gratitude with which you talk about that involvement. Excuse me, because I think that when it comes to college access, when it comes to getting more Black and brown students, people who look like us, into college programs, I think it's so important for us to be able to share that enthusiasm, that excitement, and
yeah.
share that it works, because there's a lot of programs out there that try to get people to give them money or give them resources to try
Mhm.
to get their kids to go to college. And I think when we have such successful programs like a First Gen Scholars, the success of the programs is really in how people talk about it. And I can feel your enthusiasm from being involved as a student in the program. And I think that that goes miles. And then to hear that you also return to the program as a mentor speaks even more volume. So, talk a little bit about why it was important to you to be a mentor in the program as well.
So really it was just like I understand that there were other students and everything that were in the same position that I was when I was applying. Like I didn't know pretty much like anything, right? Barely even like which colleges I wanted to go to, and they helped with like research and stuff like that too. So when what Jonathan does and everything too, right? Because this was excuse me, this was once I graduated and everything. So like the summer going into college and stuff. And what Jonathan usually does for like the previous students and everything on the summer program was he tries to like get them into jobs and everything. So this was also
Mm,
paid, right? This was nice extra money towards college just to kind of have on the side or whatever. Um, so like that was also kind of a reason, but the big reason was to just kind of like give back to the students and kind of have fun over the summer and everything, while also going over college applications, being like, hey, you want to go to this part? Okay, cool.
hmm
Here's how we're gonna get you there and stuff. And then the best part that I was looking forward to from the beginning, the absolute best part, they have a first gen exclusive like graduation every year, right? And you usually like hear like where the students are going and stuff like that and like that you mentored, right? So just kind of like I wasn't able to go to the graduation, but I was able to like follow up with the students and everything
mm.
too. And I remember like contacting students, try to call them and everything, be like, hey, did you hear back from like UCSD, UCLA? Okay, cool. You heard back from UCSD. All right, I'm about to get you set up here and everything. And da 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 da, kind of like trying to like place little like gems and everything and like internship opportunities, stuff like that, right? Like wherever I can. And just kind of like being that mentor that I had when I was in that position. Shout out to Emily and everything. I hope she's also watching this. One of the best mentors ever. And
Mm.
Isabel. They were great.
Yeah, it's really all about giving back and all the things that we have access to, continuing that legacy forward. Christian
Mhm.
and I actually got Korean barbecue just last week, and we were talking a lot about college access. And I think that's really evident that you really care about the work you do when you're talking about it over Korean
Mhm.
barbecue. But we were
Yeah.
talking about just how much impact and how much power we have as mentors in these spaces.
Mhm.
Because as we started the podcast episode with, just someone telling you like, oh, choose another profession, that could go a long way to switching your career trajectory, your personal trajectory. So the more work that we can do to just be those positive influences, to remind people that they can pursue their passions and to share that excitement with them as well, which I think is
Mhm.
coming through really well from just everything you stated. Because I think going back to the idea of perfectionism and environments to grow up in, sometimes we don't really take the time to celebrate our wins. Sometimes we don't really have time to think about what an accomplishment we're receiving because we're so caught up in, oh, what's the next thing I got to do? What's the next way to be
Yeah.
great? How can I do this thing? Literally just probably 10 minutes before we hopped on this call, I got a job offer on the phone and I had a moment to like actually have that
Yeah.
excitement, which is really beautiful. And I was like, okay, setting good intentions, good energy. I knew this was
Yeah.
going to be a good energy podcast until you brought up the Celtics. So just carrying that enthusiasm in everything I do. And I think that it's just very evident that in the things that you're passionate about, there's a lot of love there. So, just in terms of you as a person, you as a brand, you as Julian, where do you feel like all of this love and passion stems from? Like your love for knowledge, your love for giving back. Where do you think that stems from?
I think it stems from like a number of places and everything like that. I feel like it's one like the way that my mom kind of just told me how to really go about things. In terms of like doing your best to treat people with respect and everything like that, and just kind of like the baseline level of things that like you would kind of usually learn as like a kid, like where again it's
Mhm,
like respect and stuff, or like kind of like hey, like try to work or like do your best and everything like that in like any situation, no matter like the outcome and everything, at least you've done your best. And I feel like it's also just kind of like stemmed from really just like the people around me and stuff. It's just there's just so much to be grateful for and everything. Kind of going a bit deeper into my background and everything. At one point, it was only for like a couple of months and everything when I was like younger. I did face homelessness with my mom and
mm,
everything. There was like family stuff going on. Um, and she worked hard, man. Like even when I was like younger and everything, she worked like really freaking hard to like get to where like we're at now and everything. So it's kind of just like I'm in a better position than she was, so I should also be working hard and everything to continue
Mm,
kind of like building that up and everything and like trying to help people around me and everything who might be struggling or something like that and like praising their wins just as much as they praise my wins, right? Just kind of reciprocating that energy. And then another thing too is that like I also have a little sister who's 7 now and everything. And she's just kind of like just also seeing her and everything that's like it was like my mom and everything she set me up here and what I'm trying to do is set my sister up here,
mhm.
right? So just kind of like those things are really what kind of fuel my love to like give back and everything and kind of like spread like positivity or connections or opportunities wherever I can, right? Because the same thing has the same behavior and everything has been demonstrated to me, right? Like that's how I'm here now and everything, doing what I do and all of that. So yeah.
Man, I know I speak for a lot of our listeners when I say I'm just so excited to see who you are in the future and all the work and the reach that you continue to put forward. Because I think that, not even I think, I know that when people step forward with that type of intention, that type
Mm,
of energy, you're always going to find yourself reaping the benefits of that in all your interactions, your network. People are going to love just being around that type of presence. And I couldn't agree more with what you just said because I think growing up, obviously I didn't have everything, but I had a lot more than a lot of people. And I
mm,
think that sometimes we take that for granted. And I've made it a personal mission that, like you said, if I can big up somebody, if I can speak praise to somebody that
mm,
maybe grew up in an environment where they didn't receive as much praise or affirmation, I know that I'm at least moving forward to try to put that energy forward because you just never know what these small moments have for people. And that's why I wanted to create a podcast because there's so many moments that impact who we are as people. And how often do we really get to sit and just talk about that or share that story? Even your quick tidbit about your experience with homelessness, that's something that's so huge and so significant to someone's life story. And I think that we just need more space for those conversations.
agreed. 100% agreed.
And so, thinking through just where you are today, I'm sure a lot of our listeners want to know where you're at in your journey. They could probably tell that you are a younger person by the look on your face, as well as just like some of the things we talked about so far. But where are you in your personal, academic, professional journey? Where are
Mm.
you with physics? Let people in a little bit on where you are in your life right now.
Got you. So I just finished on my freshman year of college. Woo, thank God. You know, it was that was a whole experience. But yeah, finished on my freshman year of college and everything. And academically I did pretty well and stuff like that. It was I had a lot of people around me that supported me. I learned a lot of like lessons and everything too, because even though like in my opinion, like even though like you could probably like face things differently than like other people and everything and be forced to kind of grow up a little bit faster, I still feel like there's at least one thing once you translate from high school to college that'll just throw you off just
Absolutely.
completely, right? Because it's a whole different change, right? Now you're worrying about like bills and everything and like, oh my gosh, classes are like $2,000, you know? Just a whole just a whole new like world and everything like that. So yeah, I currently attend the University of California, San Diego on a full ride for physics, which also very grateful for. And in terms of physics, I'm currently conducting research in particle physics and machine learning and stuff, which I got involved in my freshman year. And right now, I'm actually about to head on a plane back to San Diego tomorrow. I just finished up a 2-month internship at Los Alamos National Laboratory working with a computational astrophysicist and everything, which has been like a real big blessing because I want to become an astrophysicist. That's really what it's all about. So just kind of like, yeah, that's pretty much in terms of like where I'm at now currently in my physics journey. Yeah, blessed with all these opportunities.
Blessed with opportunities, and it sounds like you're making big advantage of it. I don't know if y'all heard that, but that was the sound of a bunch of black people just saying "You go, boy!" Like I could just feel, I could feel the listeners like just proud of you. Like
The
we're all
aura, the
proud of
essence.
you and your journey. Because yeah, I'm just all about spreading joy into this world, and um, I'm not like obviously I'm older than you, but like I graduated from UCSD in 2017, and I
Mm,
think just graduated for the first time. Um, And I just think like looking back at the types of conversations I was having with prospective students in programs like first gen scholars and just what we have access to, it warms my heart a lot just to be able to hear somebody their first year finishing this up. You're already doing the internships, you're invested in your future really well,
Mhm.
because I think that there's just so much room for these stories. And I'm just so happy to hear about this first part of your journey at UCSD. And there's just so much more for you to grow. And hopefully, in the near future, you'll be back on the podcast as the first astrophysicist on the podcast. So you could talk to us about all those different journeys that you're taking. Maybe by then we'll have the Banquet Hall hosted on Mars. Who knows?
That would be crazy. Actually, okay, like gotta keep it on the reps a little bit. But there was some research because they had like a public student symposium and everything that I moseyed on into and stuff. And there's some research that's relating to Mars right now about us colonizing it. So like stay tuned. Maybe in like a couple of years. Stay tuned. Stay tuned.
Hey, don't get the feds knocking at my door because you're releasing federal secrets on the podcast. But getting into kind of the tail half of the podcast, want to let our listeners in a little bit more on just your mindset, who you are as a person. I think you touched on this a little bit with some of your stories about your mom, but in case there's anything else you want to share, where do you find most inspiration?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, like my mom and stuff really is like a huge inspiration within my life and everything. And then just to kind of like attest and everything to like everybody that's around me, I feel like everybody that has like I guess it's how do I explain it? Because it's gonna sound kind of wonky, but like stay with me, right? So like everybody that I've like interacted with within my life, I feel like have inspired me in some way, shape, or form to be a better person, right?
Mm,
Even if it was like a negative interaction or something like that, it was like, okay, I could have done this better or something like that and everything, or reacted this way or reacted differently in some way, shape, or form that has helped me become a better person along with the great interactions, right? This is like my inner circle and everything, and the people that I still kind of keep around me. I feel like also provide me inspiration in a way because just to kind of speak on my inner circle and everything, everybody's kind of doing something different and
mm,
going different avenues, but we're all chasing our goals, right? Like all
mm,
chasing our dreams and everything. And I feel like just kind of having that support system too within your friends and who you hang around with and stuff is really like key and stuff like that to keep it going. Cause like, well, my mom and everything is always there and stuff and can be like, can be like, oh yeah, like da 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 and everything. It's nice to kind of just like relax a bit more and then just be out with friends and everything and be like, oh, you guys are doing cool things too. And they're around my age, stuff like that. So yeah, I feel like those are like the where I draw inspiration from.
And I think it's so important to surround yourself by the right group of people and the right people that continue to push you to be the best version of yourself.
Hmm.
I have this conversation with my dad frequently about just the group of friends that I have. And when I'm bringing him up to speed on things my friends are doing, sometimes I have to reflect back, like, dang, like that is like a fact. Like, I have a friend who just did this dentistry trip in Jamaica where they were doing like service dentistry in Jamaica. I have a friend who lived in Japan, New Zealand, and China for a year each. And I have a friend who did Peace Corps in Moldova. I didn't even know where Moldova was at first. So it's like when I'm just thinking through like just how big my net is and like how dynamic and ambitious my friends are, that's what I'm most thankful for in life because whenever I hit one of my friends up, they just inspire me to continue pushing forward
Hmm.
on what I'm doing. And they're like, oh, yeah, like, oh, I got a trip planned to so and so this week, or I'm meeting with this special doctor person this week. And it's just really cool to see just our generations growing and developing our own networks and just seizing every opportunity that comes in front of us. So very happy that you're already having such a strong support network and y'all just keep pushing each other to grow because iron sharpens iron.
Hmm. 100%.
Going further down the line with our questions, this is a question that I like asking my guests just because I'm always curious where we get that peace of mind. We talk a lot about our ambitions and things that drive us, and I want to also make space for where we find rest, where we find peace. So, Julian, what is your Zen place? And this is either a physical place that you go to or a mental set of circumstances that bring you to a peaceful state of mind.
I see. Okay. Let me think on that one.
Yeah, take your time. And it can be multiple if you have multiple answers. Like you don't have to limit yourself, but just anywhere where you feel that peaceful state of mind.
Got you. I don't think it's limited to one space and everything because really where I feel that like peace of mind and everything is when I'm doing physics, which is kind of like a
Mm,
like ironic and everything because I do in fact have a love-hate relationship for physics. It's sometimes it's a little interesting when it comes to what I have to do for it, but whenever like wherever I'm doing physics and everything or wherever I could just like maybe sit down and everything and like listen to like a space podcast or something to really like hear about like the most recent space news or whatever, or just kind of like learning physics, doing research about it and stuff like that is really just kind of like my bread and butter. And it's something that I consider myself to be good at, right? So it's kind of like it's really a nice like space no matter where I'm at as long as I'm doing physics. It's really just kind of like my little flow state zen space and everything that I feel the most kind of like safe in and everything. Like I
mm.
imagine myself kind of like floating through space and stuff like that. Like I also okay. My friends call me crazy for it sometimes, but like bear with me on this one too. Right? So like I'm a firm believer in God and stuff, and I want to do two things.
Okay.
Once I like once I get to heaven and everything. One, I want to give God a handshake. I feel like he could give the coolest dap up ever, and that would be awesome. That would just be like bucket list goal, right? And another thing is we can't. Well, probably by the time that I'm like long gone and everything, we still won't be able to just travel from like galaxy to galaxy or stuff like that. So like how I mentioned, I imagine myself floating in space. I want to be floating in space, just kind
Mm.
of looking around and like still doing physics and stuff like that and learning and kind of like growing and stuff like that. It's really just I love the whole space thing, the whole concept, like just everything about it is great. It's just awesome.
Man, I that's not crazy at all in my eyes. It sounds terrifying, but I would never call you crazy for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so beautiful just seeing. I love seeing people. I always tell people that my favorite part of the podcast is when I see people geek out on something that they're very passionate about, very interested in. Because yeah, we need more Black folks that are just super excited about space, super excited about astrophysics. Because you never know, there could be someone listening to this podcast and has a little brother or little sister, little sibling who's interested in astrophysics, and they see your enthusiasm for it, and you could be their Neil deGrasse Tyson. You
Yeah.
will be that person for somebody. I can already see that in your future. But it's just so important for us to continue sharing those stories. But yeah, I have no desire to just be floating in space. I think I'd have an anxiety attack.
Yeah. See, that's usually the reaction that I get and everything. We were like, "What? You're crazy. I'm chilling and, whatever."
Just got to throw a bone to the listeners. We have a bunch of floating rocks in our galaxy and the galaxies and galaxies. What's your favorite floating rock in space? Do you have a favorite planet? Do you have a favorite celestial body? What's the
Yes.
deal?
Yes. So I have a favorite planet or two favorite planets. I have favorite phenomena and all that. So to get into the two favorite planets, one of them I'm gonna have to look up the official name, but the popular name sounds much cooler. But first it's Saturn. To me,
Mhm.
Saturn is the coolest planet ever. Like every
Easy.
other planet, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Every other planet is kind of just like chilling and everything. They have their own little cool things, but Saturn's rings
Chef's
just
kiss.
yeah, indeed, it's amazing, right? And then there's also like carrying on that Saturn name. There's a planet like light years away from us called Super Saturn, and now
Mm.
imagine like like this is like this little tiny like speck right here. This is Saturn, right? Super Saturn has rings that extend like farther than my hands can reach, like on
Mm.
scale. Like it's basically like Saturn, but with a ton, like way more rings around it and everything. It's
Oh yeah, I
ginormous.
just looked it up on Google.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
have to add a image of that and post on the video. I never heard of Super Saturn, so I learned something today.
And then my two or then like my favorite kind of like another favorite like celestial body would be like black holes, which is also what I'm doing research like out here on and everything like that. And then one of my favorite phenomena, if you want to look it up and everything, is like quasars. So like typically when you see like a picture of a black hole, you usually see like the hole and everything, and you see like those two beams. the beam is what we call quasars and everything, and they're really powerful. Some of them can shoot for light years like apart and everything. It's the coolest thing ever. Like just amazing.
Yeah. See, you got me thinking I need to study astrophysics now because just hearing your enthusiasm, like, yeah, I'm interested in just everything that's out there. Julian, I'm having a blast with this podcast episode, and it just brings a lot of joy. Like I said, just hearing somebody talk about things that they're very passionate about. And my next question slash segment is advice corner, and I'm wondering if you could give some words of advice. Um, let's say words of advice for someone who's trying to enhance their passion about something. Obviously, people have different things they're interested in. People going to college might be figuring out their major. What
Yeah.
advice do you have for someone who's trying to build out that passion for something they want to pursue a career in?
To really just like find ideally find people that enjoy your same niche and everything like that if you can. I feel like that's like one of the things and everything that'll like keep you kind of like on your toes, keep you going and stuff, because they'll also be trying to advance their careers and everything and trying to learn more and maybe bring up new questions that you haven't like even thought of or new perspectives, right? And also to kind of really just like go for it. I know
Mm,
it's kind of like cliche and everything like that, but it truly works. Just to kind of like go for it, no matter what circumstance you're in and everything, kind of going back to the TED Talk. If the percentage of success is greater than zero, it is 100% possible.
mm,
Okay, even if that percentage says that there is like a 4% black population within this or something like that and everything, attack it anyway.
mhm,
Attack it anyway. Doesn't matter. You're about to make it 5%. Okay. If anything, you're about to make it 5%. Just go for it, right? Like nobody's truly going to stop you and everything if you just keep going for it and building that support system on other people who truly want to go for it.
mm. See, now I wish I was in the audience when I gave that TED talk. You have this natural ability to be really dynamic when you're speaking and motivating. Can't wait to see what future TED talks you do. If folks wanted to tap in with your TED talk, is it available online anywhere?
So not yet, because they have to
Okay.
like send it. It's gonna be posted on the official like TED page and everything, or the
Okay.
official TEDx page and everything. So they have to like go through and review it so that to make sure like, hey, he's not saying anything crazy, you know? So I believe the timeline for it, because they usually kind of have like a good amount that flood in. Um, Probably around September-ish, like
Okay.
September, October-ish is when it should drop and everything too. I'll make sure to kind of like post about it and try to be like public about it because there are a lot of people who unfortunately couldn't make it that would also want to see it and everything too. So yeah.
Well, we'll stay tuned for that for sure. And I'll be sure once it's available, I'll link it in the description just
Mm,
so folks can tune in for that because I already know there's going to be a ton of people listening to this who just want to hear more from you, hear more about your journey. As we get to kind of the tail end of the questions, I'm wondering if you have any recommendations for Recommendation Corner. So I like to ask my guests to give recommendations for pretty much anything, but if
mhm.
you have recommendations for books, podcasts, movies, songs, anything that someone might want to engage with more after listening to this episode, either to get to know you more or maybe just something you're like, hey, this is cool and everybody needs to check it out.
I see. Okay. Um, let's see. Let's see. Okay, so if there are people watching that are specifically just relating to like physics and everything, and they're like, wow, it's cool. Nova, great show. Also, what's it called? Oh, I'm forgetting the YouTube channel right now specifically. But basically, if you look up like there's like these like hour-long kind of like documentaries and everything that go over like different types of space subjects and everything. I could probably provide like a link or something later to
Okay.
the YouTube channel and stuff. But they're really great and everything. I usually watch them either going to sleep or like while I'm doing work and everything. They're nice. Now, for the general thing, and this is my mom's favorite book and is it fine? Okay. I can't remember or not and everything. I don't want to like overstep a boundary, but it's fine if like we cuss a little bit on the
Oh,
podcast.
yeah.
Okay, for sure, for sure. So the book is called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, right? That book
I've heard of
works
that one.
wonders. I'm telling you, I'm telling you. I remember picking it up. I picked it up this like yeah, I picked it up this year, right? And it was like I think I had like recently like bombed a midterm or something like that, and
Mm,
was like, what is going on, right? Like everything was kind of just like collapsing at once. I was really busy running around and stuff like that. And I remember seeing the book on like my mom's like shelf and everything, but I never got to read it. So I looked on Spotify, got the audiobook, and I'm pretty sure the actual author also reads it off of Spotify and
mm,
everything. And the chapters are about like an hour long each if you listen to the audiobook. And just like the things that were like gone over and stuff like that, where it was just kind of like um just like everything it kind of just like what I got from the book and everything was like everything's going to be okay. Like
mm,
you don't have to give like a about like every single little thing, right? When it's like when in the grand scheme of things everything will still be all right. The earth is not going to explode. Okay. You have the next midterm, you're good, right? That was a really good, like a really, really good read.
mm.
I feel like also like more of like the general ones and everything too to kind of keep you on your toes and keep you sticking to goal setting and stuff like that would be like Atomic Habits, really great book and stuff like that. And yeah, yeah, those are like the two or the four main things I guess that I would like recommend off of the top of my head right now.
Great recommendations. I think it's so crucial for us to be comfortable letting go of control over a lot of the things, which I think that
Mhm.
book really alludes to. Because, as you said, the Earth, we don't believe the Earth is going to explode anytime soon. There's going to
Yeah.
be there's going to be another midterm. There's going to be another job interview. There's going to be another opportunity for you out there. And I encourage folks listening to this to really just contextualize what that means, because maybe it's not going to be the exact thing, but there's going to be something similar. There's going to be another pathway for you to pursue. So I definitely appreciate those recommendations.
Mhm.
We've talked about a lot on this podcast. I'm wondering if there's anything we haven't discussed yet that you wanted to make sure that we talked about on the podcast that gives people a more complete picture of who you are.
Let me think. Let me think. I think I think people from this podcast and everything, and then once kind of like the TED Talk comes out and everything, will kind of, I guess like I think this is pretty much yeah, like a full kind of like picture of me and stuff. Like I feel like I've been sharing a lot of success stories and everything throughout and everything more than I guess like well I didn't mention challenges. I've been sharing again more success rather than challenges and everything. With that being said and stuff, I by no means am a perfect person and everything too. I screw up, I mess up at times and stuff like that, just like everybody else and everything, as we're all human and stuff.
Hmm.
Um, so I guess that's like really like the only other thing. Again, only because like we've been like ooh, with like success and stuff like that. But I don't want people to kind of think that like everything magically kind of happened overnight or something like
Right.
that, or like oh I've just never made a mistake and everything. That's why like I'm here. Like everybody, no matter whatever like they're facing and everything, can achieve what they want to achieve in one
Mm.
way, shape, or form.
Definitely receive that. We are all imperfectly perfect beings, and I think that it's so important for us to just have that humility, but also have that same motivation and drive to know that we're going to mess up, we're going to have bumps and bruises along the way. But like you said, as long as there's a greater than 0% possibility, possibilities are out there.
Hmm.
So last but not least, we have takeaway corner, shout out corner. So first, let's talk about takeaways. What are you taking away with you from this episode, as well as what do you hope our listeners are taking away with them?
So what I'm taking away and everything is that this is one of the best podcasts ever and everything. This has been a really cool experience, really nice vibe. I'm telling y'all, like amazing. Like what I've watched and everything too, it's the exact same thing. Crazy vibe, just feeling it all around, right? And then another big one and everything too would be to, I guess, like celebrate like accomplishments more and stuff too. You mentioned that you got the job opportunity, which congratulations, by the way, that's huge.
Thank you.
But as a person who doesn't always celebrate themselves and everything like that too, kind of just like out of not wanting to indulge in it sometimes and all that, it is. a very healthy practice within moderation, right? Because you don't want to just be stuck on one thing. Like you do still want to progress and stuff. So I feel like this podcast in a way where I guess going back to what I said earlier, where we talked about a lot of successes and stuff, this has actually like brightened up my day even more because it's like, dang, like I really like I did that, you know? So
You did.
it's nice. It's really nice to kind of like have that. And then with the audience takeaway, really just going back to everybody is imperfect and stuff. And that you can truly do whatever you put your mind to. Like I don't care. I kid you not, I do not care what circumstances in front of you. You are getting past it. Okay. One way or another, you are getting past it. There's so many people and everything that unfortunately like give up on their dreams and in a way they have every right to, right? They've been knocked down by life constantly, just boom, 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 right? But that even though you have every right to, that doesn't mean that you have to, right? You could still keep on going to attack it. You could still keep on building this future and everything for yourself. And if you can't, okay, cool, inspire somebody else to, right?
Mm,
Try to spread that onto your kids, right? Your younger siblings, even your older siblings, if you see that they're not like what's it called? Not getting that like motivation, be that motivation for somebody else, and I guarantee you that it'll come back around.
what a beautiful takeaway, Julian. I would say my takeaway very similar to yours, but I think that besides that, I guess there are some nice Celtics fans in the world. I think that my real takeaway is that when you lead and put joy first, it just opens up the door for so much more. Uh,
Mhm.
like I said, just coming into this podcast, I knew we were going to have a great conversation. I was excited to have this conversation. I talked to Chris about it before, and he was just talking about how amazing you were going to be as a guest, and you lived up to that and even more. And I think that that's a testament to just there's a lot of great people out here who really have a say in how the world should operate. They have a say in how we can take the reins of the world and make the world work for ourselves. And I think that it just reaffirms why I wanted to do a platform like this, to be able to have voices like yourself, have this platform as a podcast. Because this interview, way better than most celebrity interviews, getting dropped on YouTube with 3 million views right now. Like this, these are the stories that matter. These are the stories that are important. And I'm just honored that you allowed me to help share your story. And man, your future is bright, bro. Like I just can't wait to see what second year UCSD student you is like, fourth year graduating. Can't wait to be at your Black grad ceremony and just to be able to continue to celebrate these successes, continue to celebrate some of the obstacles that you're going to face along the way and what you learn from them. And yeah, just really excited to be in your corner, Julian. I appreciate you so much for making time to be on the podcast. If folks want to tap in with you afterwards, where can people find you online and how can they support you?
So you guys can find me at it's Juju underscore wait, no, it's underscore Juju 74 on Instagram. And then I also have like LinkedIn. Those are like my two main like social media platforms. LinkedIn is more of like the professional style of me and everything. Instagram, still professional and stuff, but you guys can kind of see like a behind the scenes, like where I travel and everything for physics, and stuff like that. And then, oh wait, I think I'm missing. I think I'm missing the second part of your question.
Just how can people support you? So if there's
Oh, I
anything
see.
that you're working on that you could use support on, if there's anything that people can do to help spread any messaging that you have, just any ways people can support you.
I see. Um, People who can support me. I'd say, hmm, I don't know. I said that I don't know necessarily because I do feel extremely supported and grateful and stuff with like what I already have right now. This is like great. I feel like if there are any like resources or something that I could, I guess, like share with other people and everything too, especially relating to like mental health and wellness, I'm really huge on that and trying to like really spread that positivity. I feel like that's huge. Um, People who can support me. Okay, so that would be like how people can support me and everything. Can I give a shout out to like a
Yeah,
business?
that's the next question. Any
Oh
shameless
yeah.
plugs, any shout outs, anything you want to manifest to close out the podcast?
Yeah. Okay. So shout out to First Gen and everything. We've been like chatting about them and everything. And a huge shout out to Jazzy Naturals and stuff. That is my mom's business and stuff. She's an entrepreneur and everything. She makes amazing jewelry. So look
Mhm.
up jazzynaturals.com. Please check it out. It's great. I also help out at everything occasionally and stuff. So does my little sister. It's a whole little thing that we be doing. Um, and just like huge shout out to you actually and everything for having me on this podcast. And like I'm telling you, it's truly been an honor to be talking with you and stuff and to really have a platform and everything to share my story and stuff. So just really thankful and grateful for you for providing that and stuff. And yeah.
Thank you. I receive and appreciate that. Hopefully, one day we get Jazzy Naturals on the podcast too. If she's down to have the guest interview.
I can let her know. I will let her know. She'll probably be ecstatic.
Hey, it's an open door policy at the banquet hall. As I mentioned at the top, we believe everybody deserves a seat at the table. If y'all want to be like Julian and go from listener to interview guests on the pod, make sure y'all tap in with the podcast on socials at Banquet Hall Pod. Really just design this podcast to be a community more than anything. We started the podcast with shouting out a couple of interviews in Andre and Paolo. And that's exactly what I hope this podcast would do is just introduce somebody who may have a small business that they might be able to
Mhm.
patronize and be supportive of. But listeners, want to thank y'all for tuning into this episode. Make sure y'all leave that 5-star rating. We gave y'all 10-star content. The least you could do is a 5-star rating.
Five. Make sure it's five, not four, not three, five.
If
It's
you
gotta
got
be
threes and
five.
fours, leave those. Give us the
Mhm.
5 stars, give us the like. And most importantly, I ask that everyone share this podcast with someone who could just use a little bit of motivation, a little bit of inspiration. I think that our stories have so much power and so much weight in this world. So if there was anybody you were thinking of while you were listening to this podcast that you're like, dang, I really want to support them and hope their dreams grow and blossom, share this episode with them and hopefully we continue to share that motivation. Julian, can't thank you enough for making time to be on the platform. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll leave you with any last words you want to say to close out the episode. Close us out.
Um, let's see. Let's see. Hold on. Give me a second. Again, 5-star rating. Okay. We'll be watching. We'll be looking for it.
We'll
Give
be
a
waiting.
5-star rating. Okay. And keep sharing, keep liking, doing what you guys do and everything. Just this is an amazing podcast, and there are more amazing stories to come. I'm sure of it. Thank you.
Thank y'all for tuning in. We'll catch y'all next episode.